Water and sediment sludge analysis. All analysis will be tested prior to the tank cleaning of the government and by the contractor, regardless of the tank's past history to the storage of the lead fuel. The use of the paragraph government is also already to test the water, sediment, and sludge, and all possible government shall perform necessary tests and determine whether the waste of the hazardous, non-hazardous prior to the debate of the government tested results and the presented of the specification use of the basis of binding base of bidding. This does not preclude the independent testing required of the contractor to verify the government analysis of the Air Force projects, checks of the latest Air Force requirements handling the hazardous waste materials. Title 40 Code Federal Regulations 261, the EPA criteria of hazardous waste concerning with the lead in the fuel and any other of the lead projects and the characteristic of toxicity, the sample containing the 5 milligram liter or more than lead, and then the sample considered with the hazardous waste test method determination of the last concentration specifically defined for the Title 40 Code Federal Regulations Part 261 does not distinguish between the organic or inorganic TEL lead. The dangers of the associated organic lead TEL is related to the personal safety and absorption of the human body through the skin and respiratory system are not concerning with the EPA regards to the handling and disposal of the hazardous waste that the EPA tested the measure of the concentration of the total lead which leaks out of the solution lead into the pure stable forms of the lead weight and that does not leak in test of solution is not hazardous waste. The EPA and the new test procedures called by the toxicity characteristic leaching procedures TCLP. The toxicity characteristic leaching procedures changes and may be required in specification cost estimates because of the expanded testing requirements. Note that the disposal of hazardous waste has been determined to be a practical method of disposal, including operational delivery and the waste of governments and details entitled. The water, sediment, and sludge remaining in the tank containing the following quantities of leachable metals analyzed by the government in accordance with Title 40 Code Federal Regulations 261. Water, sediment, and sludge. The government analysis indicates the water, sediment, and sludge and hazardous. The contractor responsible independent testing of the water, sediment, and sludge in accordance with the Title 4060 Code Federal Regulations 261 verify the submitted laboratory reports of contracting office describing sample and testing procedures used by the testing results, the findings and the result differ from such contractor must handle the water waste differently than the method is specified in notifying that the adjustment of the contractor the use under the change of the causes of the contractor and the contractor testing determines the water sediment and the stored transportation treated and disposal in accordance with Title 40 Code Regulation 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265, and 266. Transportation and storage of the treaters of disposal are certified and have the EPA IDD numbers, and the payment of disposal of hazardous waste will not be made in an uncompleted hazardous waste manifest to the treatment and disposal facility. Return of the copy of the furnished to the government delivery and the hazardous waste government disposal as directed by the contracting officer. The blank non-hazardous waste shall be when handled and disposal and described below. The water removal and disposal of the government shall estimate indicate the quantity of the water, sediment, sludge, fuel, and the remaining of the tank, and the contractor can be responsible in his binding. Verifying availability of government disposal facility. The government disposal of hazardous waste determined to move practical method of disposal, including the delivery of waste to the government in detail and necessary. Note that the load of the landing of the application of the non-hazardous waste of the ongoing surrounding the inside of the in-berm subject to local standard, state and federal groundwater protection regulations. Designer must check the site specifically regulatory restriction based on the testing the determination character of wastewater assessment should be needed to the retreatment of non-hazardous waste of the oil water separated oil or filters and landing applications such as disposal allowed. Pumping otherwise removing the water from the tank, ensuring the sludge and sediments and not pumped from the mixture. The mix with water there are blank gallons of non-hazardous waste which can be disposed into the berm and shall be packaged, labeled, and stored and transported and treated, disposed in accordance with Title 40 Code Regulations 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265, and 266. Delivering hazardous waste for the government disposal is directed in contracting office blanks. 366 sludge and sediment removal disposal, squeegee and brushing the sludge and sediment and otherwise loose materials and piles and shovels into the buckets, otherwise suitable containers, removing the tank sludge disposal using landfill berm. Note that selecting the applicable from the following. The government shall estimate and indicate the quantity of water, sludge, and sediment fuel and remaining in the tank, and the contractor can be responsible in his binding. Referring the availability of government disposal facility, disposal of the sludge sediment in the berm, and interfere with the contracting operation and storage of the laydown of the materials into the berm in plan of state permit. The required disposable berm shall be obtained by the government prior to the estimating adversing bids. There are barrels of non-hazardous sediment sludge and tank. Their disposal of the berm area, sanitary fled and spread with non-hazardous uniformly possible area, the maximum 3 inches of thick layer of the weathering the berm area that fence the area temporarily with wood and metal. The ambient temperatures of 0 diagnostic 322 degrees of the F weathering. The period shall minimum of 4 weeks for cold weather. Weathering shall be extended for the number of days temperature falls in the 0 categories of 32 degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit. 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Freezing. After the required time elapsed, remove the signs and the front fences. Sludge disposal using a reclamation plant. The government shall be estimate indicating the quantity of water, sludge, and sediment fuel in the remaining of the tank contractor component and be responsible in bidding and verifying the availability of the government disposal facilities. The blank barrels, non-hazardous sediment, and sludge of the tank shall be delivered in government disposal of the government-operated oil waste reclamation removal of the sludge. Note that the government shall be estimated indicated quantity of water, sludge, fuel, and estimating the remaining tank of the contractor can be responsible for this binding, verifying the ability of the government disposal facility. There are blank barrels of hazardous sediment, sludge, and tank shall be disposed of the contractor package level, storage, transportation, treat, and the disposal of hazardous sludge, sediment in accordance with Title 40 CFRs in these parts 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265, 266. Delivery of the sludge of the government. When the government disposal of hazardous waste determined in the most practical method of disposal, including the option of delivering the waste to the government in details as necessary. Note, the government shall estimate indicate the quantity of water, sludge, sediment, and the fuel remaining in the tank, and the contractor can be more responsible for it in his binding. The availability of government disposal of the of facilities. The blank of the barrels of hazardous sediment, sludge, in the tank shall be delivered to the government disposal and package label accumulated transportation treat disposal of hazardous sludge and sediment in accordance with the Title 40 Code Federal Regulations, Parts 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265, and 266. 361. Washing. The paragraph applicable for the concrete steel tanks. Only water shall be used in the first preference. The steel tank shall have contained the light products and normally be clean. Washing down the fresh water under the pressure. The detergent shall be considered with its water by itself. An inadequate movement of all fuel residue determined in the tank surface and be changed in lead and unleaded. The determination solvents should be specified in the tank, except for the heavily coated fuel residues. Choice of cleaning the agent is based on the type of the fuel stored and the tank conditions expected, and consider the brush burning and minimizing the water. After the water, fuel, and the sludge of the removed through the tank of the interior, the minimizing water and substituting the blasting of the particular starter, washing the top of the walls of the columns of the work down to the floor of the water, wash of the floor last, starting with the sides of the working towards the sump, and the wash to remove sludge, wax, oil, sludge, wax, tar, and other fuel residues adhering to the surface. Wash by one combination of the following methods. Select applicable paragraphs for the following. Use only fresh water under pressure to apply the detergent conforming to the FSOD 120 or 11276. Spray, wash, and soak spray, brush, and soak for approximately 30 minutes. Apply the detergent cleaning solution by spray or brush, allowing the soak approximately 30 minutes, cleaning the solution either to a 1-to-1 ratio detergent conforming to the FSOD 127.6 solvent conforming to the mill preference is 680, the equivalent commercial cleaning agent of the approved contracting officer. D. The hand scrub surfaces vagrancy of the landing. Long handle stifle brushes. The brushes intermittently with fresh cleaning agents during the scrubbing process. The heavily oil soaked areas within the still period of the retaining the residue of the first scrubbing and giving the second application of cleaning agent, repeating the scrub process second time. Scrub until cleaning. Rinse the surface through the fresh water. Brush off the blasting. 3.6 washing water sediment removal, disposing washing water, operating portable pump consistently with suction hose extended to the top of the bottom, removing the water, detergent, dirt, and oil, other loose materials, wash, allowing the rinse, final rinse, pumping, squeegeeing, mopping, and tank and drying. Prior to discharge for disposal, testing of the water, sediment, and sludge in accordance with paragraph entitled Water, Sediment, and Sludge Analysis, the contractor shall furnish the temporary tanks to hold water to turn in solution until it is completed. Note to select the applicable paragraphs from the following. Note that the use of paragraphs if used first paragraph is if only fresh water is used in washing. The wash water or non-hazardous can be disposed of in the permanent area. The hazardous shall be handled in accordance with the paragraph entitled Water, Sediments, and Sludge Analysis. Use of the second paragraph in the detergent solvent is used for the washing of the way, or if the wash of the water only is discharged in the sanitary sewer, verifying the existence of industrial wastewater oil contamination, if not available for the revised wording, including the pollution discrimination, eliminating and discharging into the local sanitary sewage systems. The designer shall note the designer shall check the owner, the operator, Navy municipal sewer system in dumping waste and water into sewers that will be not allowed, describing special conditions of the contractor that must follow the obtaining the necessary permits for the permission to discharge the entire sewer prior to the adversing the bids. The water and detergent solution not hazardous can be disposed of the Navy municipal sewers, and the contractor shall be ensured that the water does not exceed the discharge limitations listed by the contracting officer or the Navy municipal sewage treatment plant operator at least 24 hours prior to the discharge of the sanitary sewer at the phone number blank. Items listed given by the example only. The project designer must be developed the listed items listed and specified in the project. Table 2, wastewater discharge limits and lures. The item of the pH limited to 5.5 to 9.5 blank. The oil, grease, the hydrocarbons, the 50 to blank milligrams of 1 max. And the surface of the MBAS, 30 milligrams to 1 max. Lead 0.6 blank milligrams to 1 max. The total identifiable chlorinated item to the limits of 0.04 milligrams to the 1 max. Benzene derivatives 2.0 milligrams to the 1 max. Organic solvents 2.5 milligrams to 1 max. And blank and any item to the blank of 0 milligrams per max. If discharge of the limits or exceeds for any of the above items, dispose of the water detergent solution, the director, contracting officer, or either Navy's industrial water treatment plant or the oil reclamation plant, the contractor pretreatment of the water, wash water, and take them a suitable discharge of the sanitary sewers, if approved by the contracting officer, submitting the plan of the pretreatment to the contracting officer approval of 21 days prior to the scheduling of pretreated discharge for the binding purposes. Some of the sediment non-hazardous and disposed of the area, the berm area, the sanitary and fill hazardous must be handled in accordance with the paragraph entitled Sludge Sediment Removal and Disposable. 3.6.10 Removal Scale of tenacious adhering materials, performing sandblasting, cleaning, and the power wire brushing. The brushing shall be made by the spark-resistant bronze hose after sandblasting or the power wire brushing, the cleaning of the entire tank of the cleaning surface, and the brushing of the composed air, vacuuming the removal of loose materials from the tank interior. 3.610 is disposable using blasting abrasive. When government disposal hazardous waste determined to provide the most practical method of disposal, including the option of delivery to wanting of the government and details and test of use of abrasive in accordance with Title 4261, determining if it is hazardous waste using the EP toxicity testing for the metals, handling disposal of the hazards, determining the hazardous waste in accordance with Title 40 Code Federal Regulation 260, 261, 262, 263, 264, 265, and 266. The disposal of the abrasives is not hazardous waste of the landfill off the government property in accordance with the applicable regulations. The contractor will be adjusted if used an abrasive determined the hazardous waste. However, the payment disposal hazardous waste will not be made in the completed manifest. The treatment of the disposal facilities is returned in the copy furnished to the government delivery. Hazardous waste to government and disposal as directed by the contracting officer. 3611, the special instruction cleaning storage tanks of GP5 fuel that comply with the precaution procedures outlined for the cleaning petroleum storage tanks. GP5, a relatively low read vapor pressure combustible gas indicator, will not ordinarily indicate any vapors present in the tank any time the duration of the entire tank of the cleaning work, but this does not mean the hazardous flammable fuel vapors are not present. The respiratory equipment specified in the respiratory protection under the paragraph of equipment inspections at all times are read regardless of whether or not the combustible gas indicator indicates the last vapors present in the tank. Wear respirators, protective equipment, continuous tanks inside of the bottom between the thoroughly clean, wash, and deride. Do not delete this paragraph if there is no floating roof tank. Thoroughly clean the roof of the rust, debris, and the interior of the spittoon of the floating tank. Special 3612 and brief special precautions delete if not applicable. Special precautions of the tank of the pipe, columns, braces, and platoons, and leaking bottoms pipe. Using the columns and braces, platoons, leaking bottoms are the potential sources of explosive vapors. Even after the tank is clean, the tank is determined if the vapor-free below 4% of the lower explosive limit. After 1 or 2 hours, explosive readings must be again obtained at these sources. The contractor shall take readings at least every half hour for the working in the tanks and have been cleaned at each floating roof of the pontoon shall be checked individually with combustible gas indicators. If the repair was performed in floating the roof tanks and the interior within each pontoon of the roof shall be thoroughly cleaned with the fuel, rust, and water and debris. 3613 lead hazard free test that deletes the brackets if when necessary if there is no lead-free fuel in the tank. In accordance with the AIPI 212 standards, tank lead in air test to make sure that the tank is lead hazardous. Caution: never take a lead hazardous free test before or during cleaning, only after. 37. The final cleanup. After the contracting officer has inspected the subject of the tank cleaning and final inspection accomplished the following work. 371. The tank stencil on the tank 20 millimeters 3¼ inch letters adjacent with the manhole openings the following date. The date cleaned, the contractor name, the address. 372. The restoration of the site of the original condition. Do not reconnect the pipelines. The application of the interior exterior coatings specified in section of the inspection has not been completed. Replace the valve pacing and the valve covers. Simply items are removed and start the job and new gasket material resistance. Pressure check of the valve pipes. Remove the site of the debris, equipment, materials, and cleaning operations. Restore the site of the original condition. End of the section.